Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to Apollo Art Analysis. In this episode, we're going to be taking a look at a piece actually generated by OpenAI's DALL-E II. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about this minimalist portraiture, near-symmetrical harmony, and we're going to talk about the profound power of AI generative art. So let's jump right into it. So whenever you first see this piece, you're met with this portraiture format here, and this is really classic. Of course, it displays the bust of our subject, and the result is a very intimate visual experience here. Of course, it feels like we're face to face with our predator subject here, and it's a kind of confrontational and very intimate visual experience. And so the result here, of course, since our perspective is face on in that portraiture, is a near symmetrical spatial composition, actually very close to complete symmetry, although there are a bit of deviations, if you say, in the texture and form there. But overall, it is a pretty much completely symmetrical, very harmonious visual experience. And so, of course, near symmetry is split across that center axis here. And you'll see it's a very ordered and a very harmonious, very balanced visual experience as a result of that. And so in the realm of texture, I think we're pretty good examples here. So if you look, there's kind of a rougher texturing here. There is a bit of that kind of fluff in the hair at the top as well. So that's also important to note. It feels kind of like broad brushstrokes, although I say brushstrokes very hesitantly because, it almost feels like a charcoal or a chalk type of drawing here, maybe some type of pastel illustration. But regardless of that, you see just an amazing texture within this piece, some amazing, very good examples of that as well. And so you'll see here, of course, this midnight black backing of it's the perfect neutral background for the kind of color and emphasize itself to the highest degree possible. And so the result is a very kind of vibrant and very vivid and a very neon visual experience. It just pops out straight at you, especially those eyes. You're just kind of face to face with the predator here. Speaking of predator, we are looking at a bear. So bears are some of the most terrifying beasts in the world. There's probably a slim chance you've seen a bear in real life, but if you have, you know how massive they are. And if you haven't seen a bear in real life, go check out a quick YouTube video. It's kind of terrifying, like a bear sits down next to a guy in a chair. Pretty terrifying, definitely very, very dangerous to humans. So kind of an archaic predator that we're staring face to face here. It is terrifying, but it's also really cool because you have this kind of cyberpunk aesthetic mixed with that as well. And so with that in mind, we're looking at it kind of feels like a fantasy and science fiction merge here. So, and what I mean by that is, whenever there's a anthropomorphic depiction of some type of animal, whether it's and that's very, very archaic. Even some of the old ivory carvings from archaic humans depicted anthropomorphic beings as well. I believe it's like a lion man statue. But, regardless of that, you do see those kind of fantasy elements of that. And then, of course, there is that science fiction influence inherent as well, mainly in, say, kind of the cyborg depiction there, as well as the kind of glowing eyes and that glow of the cyberpunk genre. And so this piece was, of course, generated with OpenAI's DALL-E II. And so I have the original prompt here. So OpenAI, it's an AI generative art program, one of the most advanced in the world. So all you have to do is put a little prompt into the generator and it'll create the piece which stands before us here. So the original artist who wrote this for us said a bear cyborg, synthwave, purple, cyan, and black. So, of course, we see those colors easily, purple, cyan, black, really dark, really cool aesthetic here. I love it. And then we have that bear cyborg, of course, our predator, and that cyborg science fiction influence. And then synthwave. And synthwave is pretty interesting because that's normally defined as a music movement. So we can think of this as like a visual embodiment of synthwave. So I think that's really interesting whenever we're taking a look at this work in specificity. But, furthermore, it's incredible because synthwave is kind of like a revival or a renaissance, but in some ways, of course, it draws influence from the 80s in many different ways. But what's quite remarkable is how it's very selective in the way that they choose a specific era to revive. And I say revival hesitantly and lightly because with the birth of the 90s right after the 80s aesthetic never really died. It was definitely preserved in many ways, and now we have retro wave, we have synth wave. And so this is kind of like a visual depiction or an AI's interpretation of a visual embodiment of synth wave. So I think that's really, really interesting. And so you see that cyberpunk aesthetic mixed as well. It seems like some type of warrior or maybe a bounty hunter. It's hard to say for sure, but that predator energy is definitely there, definitely a straight killer, and it's a very confrontational portraiture here. Like I said, this piece was generated by AI, so this is a DALL-E II rendering, one of the most advanced in the world. And the thing about DALL-E II is that it is incredibly, incredibly accurate. So if you were to, put in, say, a duck wearing rain boots and a raincoat dancing in front of the Taj Mahal, it will do that for you, and it's quite remarkable. But some people like a more painterly flow, so you could even incorporate a bit of that. Of course, like I said, we do see that texturing in here, which I really, really like. It's, of course, extremely accurate, but it's also stylistic as well in its depiction. So the result, very, very vibrant visual experience, and that texture is just masterful in the way that it conveys it. But regardless of that, just an amazing piece, very, very, very immersive, and it's a very striking and very memorable piece here. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Go check out some of DALL-E II's renderings. There's a bunch coming out right now. OpenAI is running their private beta right now, so it's just been incredible to see what we can learn. And so this is the second to last piece before the DALL-E II gallery release. So I'm really, really excited for that. This is the 7th piece that we've ever showcased from DALL-E II. And then day after tomorrow, I'm going to be doing another piece, which will be our 8th DALL-E II piece to date. And then we're going to release the gallery, and it's going to be incredibly exciting. I just knew that I had to study DALL-E II as soon as possible. And so in early June, I announced the release of the AI Generative Art Gallery only with 8 pieces. But today, I'm really proud to say that we have 22 pieces. So just in the course of about a month, we were able to add, just almost 20 pieces here. So very, very exciting. And I knew I had to study DALL-E II. I almost released the gallery with 2 pieces, but then I was like, wait a minute. Let's showcase. We need to study it some more before it release it officially. But like I said, really excited to release that DALL-E II gallery. Be on the lookout for that. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys learned something. My name is Apollo. This was Apollo Art Analysis, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to support our work directly, please check out our Apollo community tokens. Apollo Art Exchange is an ecosystem of art appreciation which elevates artists each and every day. Thanks for listening.